Behind this fence is Kiev's trade unions building. It has been under reconstruction since 2014. During the Euromaidan Revolution, activists set up a first aid post in its lobby. This is where protesters would come after catching a cold in the early days of that fateful winter. Later, as police assaults became more violent, volunteer medics had to treat serious injuries, including head trauma. Neurosurgeon Andriy Huk was among those saving lives in the trade unions building.
Head physician in Kiev's Institute of Neurosurgery, Andriy Huk, was able to fit our interview into a tight schedule of endless examinations and operations. In 2014, Andriy recalls he took time off to work on his doctorate. I took a vacation at the time to finish my scientific paper, but unfortunately I haven't done so to this day. Andriy joined the rally on day one, at first as a regular protester, but in early December, in the lobby of the trade unions building at the Maidan Square, activists organised a first aid post to prevent a flu epidemic. Eventually, Maidan's medic community grew to form 20 medical tents with mobile brigades. Everything from drugs to dressings to equipment for ad hoc operating rooms was donated by Euromaidan supporters from Ukraine and abroad. Things were sourced through Facebook, through acquaintances, making a few calls saying, "We're at the Maidan and we need this or that kind of help." One of the ambulance cars was donated by Ukrainians who worked in Slovakia. They let us use it for a while, and afterwards they sent it to the war in the east. So it was a civic unity, an understanding that we have to help one another as best we could. Another medical post was organised on Hrushevskova Street. Here in January 2014, medics reported the first death at the Euromaidan. Serhiy Nigoyan was brought in with 3 gunshot wounds. The deaths of Zhesnevsky and Nigoyan were a sign of things to come. It was clear they were not accidental deaths. It was the beginning of the war between the authorities and the people. There were shrapnel wounds and burns from stun grenades. There were gunshot wounds and wounds from rubber bullets. At that point, we felt we needed to be ready for anything. During the bloodiest days of the revolution, when government forces unleashed deadly force on the unarmed protesters, Andriy Huk was on standby at the Maidan's field hospital 24/7. Ambulances kept bringing the wounded. Bodies of the deceased were also gathered at the trade unions building. On February the 19th, at night, someone set fire to the complex. It was very difficult to evacuate everyone, but we managed to get everyone who was alive, as well as the dead bodies from the first floor, out of the building. They were taken to St. Michael's Cathedral, carried by hand. It was horrific. The Maidan gave the country the most important thing, the feeling of dignity, the feeling that we deserve better and that we deserve to defend this right. Andriy Huk stayed at what became known as the Revolution of Dignity until the very end, and he continued treating some of his Maidan patients in the months and years that followed, some with old Maidan injuries, others returning wounded from the front line of Russia's undeclared war in the east of Ukraine. Reported by Yevgenia Boda, UATV.